Hey, roll the intro. Good morning, everybody. Welcome in with Hammer. This is the place where I try to answer your questions and we talk about different things going on in the world of drumming, things in my world, things in your world. Of course, your questions make the show, and if I don't have questions, there's really not much of a show. As usual, when I start this show, I'm usually talking to zero or nobody that I know of. People are probably just jumping on. So today's show started a little late for me, half hour late. Got my hair done. Does it look nice today? I'm not going to put the hat on today just for that one purpose, for that one reason. But today's topic is going to be about what song do you think has the perfect drum part? So it was something that came to me when I was kind of driving home from my hairdresser, who only knows for sure. Good morning, Sean. Welcome to the show. Thank you for the haircut comment. So I was thinking, what song has the perfect drum part? And there's lots of songs that meet this, by the way. This is not a one song question. This really is think about a perfect drum part to a song and think about who the drummer is and think about if anybody could do it any better. That's really the question. It's kind of like when you listen to Steve Gadd on Asia. I've heard a lot of players play that song. It's hard to imagine anybody playing it any better, even though Dennis Chambers got really close. And sometimes when I listen to Keith Carlock play it live with Steely Dan, I go, really nice. But Steve's still the bar. So the bar set. Another one is 7 Days by Vinnie Colaiuta. 7 Days by Sting, which had Vinnie Colaiuta playing drums. That's another song where it's hard to think of anybody else playing a better part than what Vinnie played on that. So that's what I'm talking about. What songs are in your mind? What are those perfect drum part songs that nobody else could really do better and are just so special to you when you listen to them? Because I think there are those songs where somebody played it one time and it's just perfect. It's very hard to find a better part. So I'm looking forward to hearing some feedback on that from you guys today. Remember, your questions make the show. So if I have questions, I have a show. If I have comments, I have a show. I know everybody's waking up on the West Coast, so I don't get a lot of West Coast people. I usually only get East Coast, but definitely something that I'm aware of. So right now I got two people on. Whoever else is on, please identify yourself. I appreciate you being here on the show. Sean said Clyde Stubblefield, funky drummer. James Brown's funky drummer. Yeah, that's another one that is a very, very unique part for sure, and he played it perfectly. No doubt about it. That's one that definitely is hard to duplicate. Matter of fact, guys don't try to duplicate it. They just sample Clyde and put it in their songs rather than trying to get somebody to play the part. And when you listen to the part, it doesn't, if you write it out, it doesn't look that complicated. But when you hear the way he grooved it, that was a moment in time. That's what we're talking about. Something that happened in a moment in time that it's very hard to capture. A lot of people try to duplicate it, but it's very hard to capture any other way. So, another song that comes to my mind is Rosanna by Jeff Porcaro and Toto. That song right there is like a lot of guys can play that beat, but can they play it like Jeff? You know, that's the thing. Good morning, Sam. Sam Beat Seven's on and Eric F. Drums. Eric's saying, do I dare say Phil Rudd, AC/DC? Most drummers would overplay AC/DC tracks. I think Phil Rudd brought something very special to AC/DC, no doubt about it. Is that a part that no one else can play if they play in the band is what I'm talking about. Maybe. I don't know. I mean, the way Charlie Watts plays Rolling Stones songs, nobody else plays them like Charlie Watts. Very unique to Charlie. So, good morning, Blake Nunn Drums. Nice to have you this morning. The topic is, what's the perfect drum part for the song? Name a song that you think nobody else could do the drum part better. So another example of this would be 50 Ways to Leave Your Lover, Steve Gadd. I mean, who else would have came up with that one? That's kind of crazy town. I mean, matter of fact, he was goofing around in the studio practicing while they were waiting on trying to figure out how to do this song, and the engineer, producer, Phil Ramone, heard it and said, hey, can you try that on the song? That's how 50 Ways, if you ever heard Steve talk about it. So great to have some guys like Blake on. I know it's early for Blake. Blake, it's like 6 a.m. there, so very early. But I started late today, so welcome everybody. So your questions make the show. Your questions and comments make the show. What are your thoughts? Good morning, Keith Scott. Great to have you on today, too. Talking about perfect drum parts for songs. What are some of those songs where the drummer just wrote such a great, and it's hard to say wrote, I have a hard time with writing drum parts that way. A lot of these times, these parts come out of their heart, and they're reacting to the music. I don't think anything's written down a lot of times. Good morning, Chadwick, Double Deuce Drums. Great to see everybody popping on today. So, what are your songs where you feel the drummer just played a perfect part and really nobody can really best it? You know what I mean? Great to have CCM drummer here too, Matthew from Brazil. Matthew's going to be a neighbor soon. So I know, what we're talking about today is perfect drum parts for songs. One of the interesting things about recording songs for records is that you know that they're going to live on, or maybe you didn't know they were going to live on. And that's the interesting thing. A lot of times we don't think about that, but doing a lot of studio work like I have over the years, I've come to realize that my part's going to live there forever. So if you don't nail it, you leave. Sometimes that's a problem. But I think we've gotten crazy with perfecting parts today to the point where we've lost a lot of the energy of what made some of those great drum parts so wonderful was that they didn't fix it, they just played it and it worked. Like the Steve Gadd 50 Ways part or Asia. I mean, there wasn't a lot of Gadd only did that Asia track supposedly in 2 takes, one run through, and one time they pushed the button and they took it. So he didn't get a second chance at it. So that's why that's such a unique drum part. I don't know how they built 7 Days for Sting with Vinny playing, but that part right there, it's got like an overdub brush part on it. So there was some thought into that drum part, but still Vinny's playing is just amazing. And I know by the time we get to the 90s and the 2000s and today, cutting and comping drum parts is not hard to do. Back in the 70s and 80s and 90s especially, you would punch in. And punching in meant like you loved the track, but there's this one section you want to fix. And I remember the first time I had a punch on track, I was in Nashville. I did my first big record. It was the first time I was playing drum set on a tune in the studio. I'd played percussion in the studio for a couple people before that in college, but I never played drum kit. And I'm doing this, the first song that we're doing for this album, and they didn't like the way the fill laid, and they said, can you go out there and play the fill? And I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't understand what they're saying. Just go out there, play along with the track, and then we'll get you in and out. I said, well, just play along? Yeah, like you're playing along with the record. Just play along with the track. So it was a very straight rock tune. And then it comes to the fill. And I came back in, and I hit a crash, and I was sloshing the hats a little bit. And I remember the engineer saying to the producer, is that okay? He didn't come back with the tight hat thing until the second bar when they punched me out. And the producer said, nah, it's rock and roll. Don't worry about it. That was fine. And I did it in one. That was my first punch, and I never did one before. I never understood what it was up until that point in time. But figuring that out was a big deal. So, and that's how they make a lot of records today. But some of these records, sometimes they were just complete drum takes and they just kept them, like a lot of the early Chicago stuff. And before the machinery was so good that you could get away with doing something. So let's look at some of your ideas now that I've been laying it in there. Blake Nunn says Larnell Lewis and his stuff on Snarky Puppy. What About Me is pretty amazing. Some of the interesting things about Snarky Puppy that turned me on when I first discovered them in 2011 or 12 was their live albums they did and videos. Those were all recorded live, so there wasn't a lot of fixing going on. There was just amazing playing. And I think that's why Snarky Puppy is such a great band to listen to. And Larnell jumped in on what Spud was doing, but they've got a bunch of drummers now that play with the group, but Larnell's a great player. Larnell, if you've never seen Larnell play the Lars thing on Drumeo, he's playing I forget which song. I think it's Enter Sandman. I think he's playing. He just kills it, man. He only listened to it one time and then he played it down, and he pretty much nailed the part. He's that kind of a player, though. Great. That's a good example. Let's see. Eric F. Drum says, I feel like Manu and his parts with Peter Gabriel, U.S. album, was unique, especially Come Talk to Me. I'm not familiar with that album. I'm familiar with Manu playing with Peter Gabriel, though. Was that a live album, Eric, or not? I'm not sure. A lot of that So album that Manu played on was all overdubbed and all kinds of craziness, but Manu's a great player, no doubt about it. My favorite Manu playing would be Tears for Fears, the album with Sowing the Seeds of Love. That album right there in Manu was just amazing. Then he did the Robbie Robertson album, too, with Robbie Robertson with Somewhere Down the Lazy River. That's another amazing Manu track. And Dire Straits, him and Jeff's shared Dire Straits album. I forget the name of the album, but it's the one with Calling Elvis on it. Great Manu playing on that, too. Of course, he played on some Sting albums, too. And he was a great drummer. I got to check the Peter Gabriel U.S. album out. Let's see. Chadwick said, goofing off with a song is one of my favorite ways of creating interesting parts that usually makes it into a song. I think that's the art of drum covers. Is we have a way of being able to do what we do on the song. But today, I'm trying to say what songs that you think are just perfect drum parts kind of hard to do better. That's the problem. Like a lot of us drum cover guys try to do better parts. I was looking at a song called Some Skunk Funk. My friend Jim Huey played it, and he did a great cover of Some Skunk Funk. And if you don't know what Some Skunk Funk is, there's a history to the song. It was played by Billy Cobham and his band on the Funky Thought of Things. That was the album that he played it on. And then the Brecker Brothers did a version of it on, I think, 2 albums. And there's a cut of it with Terry Bozzio playing drums that is just an amazing. That was the first time I really heard Some Skunk Funk. And it is 7 minutes of pure jazz rock fusion heaven for me listening to it. And Bozzio played some great stuff on it. But it's very hard to beat that track. So I was thinking about trying to play it again. I'm rethinking that. I've heard some other versions of it that are not that version, the live version, from that night with the Brecker Brothers, where they did the live session with Bozzio playing. But I've heard some like redone versions of it that are really nice, probably a little bit more on click because Bozzio's moving a little bit, but it was a live performance. But that's just one of those parts how do you replicate that? It was just incredibly done music. So let's see. Lori Jones and Walton's here, Chur Doi Drama. You gotta check out Walton's stuff, man. Walton plays some unique Spanish influenced music, Latin influenced music. A lot of fun. Lot of cool music there. So any other thoughts about any questions? You guys got any questions? Let's see what else I got here. Lori Jones from Wales is here today. Manu, In Your Eyes, Peter Gabriel. That is a signature part. No doubt about it. Did he play? I guess he did record that in the studio. So that was Manu. That's a great track. Very hard to replicate that track. Very, very hard to do that one. Let's see what else we got going on. Anybody got anything today you guys want to talk about? This show is really about questions. So, Sean Woodley asked me a question. What's my favorite drum part? That's why I brought this up, because I just mentioned about all my favorite drum parts, right? And every example I gave, those are all favorites of mine. Um, and some of them I'll try, like 50 Ways. I've done a couple covers of 50 Ways because I can kind of play the part, and I'm trying to get the Gad thing. But I've also tried to do Sting 7 Days, and it's just not happening, so I can't let it go. I mean, I'll go back to it every once in a while. I'll throw that in and say, let's try this again. That's what happened with Asia, by the way. Ended up doing Steely Dan's Asia, and it was one of those mornings where I played it 15 times, 8-minute song 15 times. So it took a little over an hour that day, and I got done with the last track. I thought I was close, and I listened to it. And I said, this isn't even close. This is terrible. But I thought I had something back. So I went 7 tracks back, and I realized the 8th take I did of it was the one that I used for the drum cover that had 3 very unique but similar Gaddish type solos. Because that's really what I was looking for. I was looking for the songs that had some of the licks from the famous Gad solo, but I wasn't trying to play it exact. I've seen a couple guys that have played it exact, that have the chart written out, and they play every lick that Gad played, and they play them very well. I mean, I'm always amazed when guys can like transcribe and then play things, but I didn't have any desire to try that song and try to play it that way. I wanted to see if I could fit into that song. So that's one of those drum covers that are one of my favorite drum covers, not because I played it so wonderfully, just because I was able to get through the song, and I feel like I did an okay job getting through a very hard song. But is it my favorite drum part? Probably not. My favorite drum parts probably are the ones that are the most in the pocket. You know, those are my favorite drum parts for me to play. I love playing stuff that's in the pocket. You know, I don't really have the chops anymore. I never really had the chops ever. I was always more of a pocket guy. So that's definitely the way I look at that. Let's see what else we got question-wise today. Lori Jones said, what's my favorite drum shell material? Okay, let's talk about drum questions. That's a great question. You know, my maple Gretsch kit, which is maple gumwood, basically. It's maple with gumwood in the middle. I love the way those drums sound, and I don't think you can really not love Gretsch drums. You know what I mean? You got to love them. So I do love Gretsch drums. That's one of those things I really love the way they sound. But I think there's a lot of unique drums out there, and a lot of unique drum shell material like fiberglass. Yesterday I did a cover for my friend Michael Perry yesterday. His dad passed away, and he there was a song he wanted to hear, a Mercy Me song. And he said, "Can you play this for me?" And I said, "Sure. You're a friend." And I love Michael Perry. He was there when my son passed, so I know he's going through a lot of pain. If this will give a guy a smile, fine. So I cut it. But in the process of cutting it this week, I had this guy that I was going to do his album, and he has since gone back to where he's from in South America. And he gave me some snare drums to fix, and I put them in a box, and I was going to ship them back to him. He didn't send me the address. So, Leandro, if you're on, send me your address, and I'll send you your drums back. But somewhere midweek, I was listening to a podcast on Tempest drums, those fiberglass drums that I always loved the look of the Tempest and the Milestone drums from Canada. They were a unique fiberglass drums, and I've had this fascination with fiberglass drums. I have a set of Pearl fiberglass concert toms. Because of that, I've had this fascination with wanting a set of fiberglass drums. I had a set of Fibes drums at one point in time. They were made in the United States, black, thick fiberglass. Really, they're much different than the Pearl fiberglass. So I've always looked at the Milestone and the Tempest drums. And when we was listening to this podcast, on the podcast, the guy got in this discussion about how he made some shells for other companies, one of them being Grover. Well, I have 2 Grover fiberglass shells from my friend that I fixed the snare strainers on for him, and I was going to give them to him when I did the sessions. And long and the short of it, Sessions didn't happen. I fixed the drums. I was just going to mail him back to him. He didn't send me his address, so he doesn't have his drums. So I opened up one of the box. I opened the box up because I had to set up to ship it, and I opened it up and I pulled the 6.5 by 14 fiberglass out and I looked at the lugs. I said, "Yeah, these are Tempest lugs, but it's a Grover drum." So I have a pearl throw off on it, and the drum cracks, man. It just fiberglass snare drums are amazing sounding drums. So I really am. I dig fiberglass. I've played Vistalite. I had a couple Vistalite kits. They're very unique. I think they look so cool, clear drums. You can see through them and everything. But the other side of that is, of course, they're really loud, and I think they're a one trick. They got a one sound thing to them. So that's my experience with Vistalite. There is a set of drums that I played once that was I played some old Ludwig mahogany drums, and I played a set of Pearl modern mahogany drums. And I have this fascination with mahogany drums because mahogany is a really deep, dark wood. And I have a African mahogany Pearl Omar Hakim snare drum that really has a nice darkness to it, but it's bright because it's a 5 by 13. And I really dig mahogany. And I think if I ever could have a drum kit made for me, and if I had the money to just blow like $5,000, DW makes all mahogany drums. I'd like to get a mahogany kit. That would be one of those ones that I would really dig. So from a favorite shell material thing, of course I love my Gumwood maple Gretsch kit, but I do think that there's something in mahogany that's really cool. So I'd like to try that someday. But as you can see, I'm not stuck on it. And by the way, I love birch drums too. That's another rabbit hole to go down. Yamaha Recording Custom. So drum kits, I like to get a mahogany kit. I like to get a birch kit, like a Yamaha Recording Custom kit, or even one of those Yamaha club. They weren't club customs. Those were cool kits too. I don't know what wood that was. That was Kapoor, I think. But they had a lower line Yamaha kit with birch. I think it was the Stage series for a couple years there. Those sounded great. I played on one of those sets one day, and they just had that birch just kind of pops through. Birch has got like definition and bite through. Maple's got a little more warmth, and mahogany super warm, dark drums. All right, let's see what else we got. Chadwick says, have you got to play many other shell materials? I think I just answered that question. I played a lot of them. I've played about every type of drum there is. I mean, I've played the Recording Customs. I love the Recording Custom drums. I don't know why Yamaha stopped making that their main line. I mean, those are just great drums. I think they messed them up when they reissued them. But then again, they're not made by the same guy in Japan anymore. Let's see what this question is from James Jin. Thank you for being on the show today. I appreciate it. Steely Dan tracks had excellent drum tracks. Jim Gordon, Porcaro, Gadd, Purdy. Yeah, very intricate parts. I agree. I think Jim Gordon's playing on Pretzel Logic is amazing. Jeff's playing on Katy Lied, amazing. There's not many tracks there that are not perfect, I do know Hal Blaine played on track number 9 on Katy Lied, but the rest of it is all Jeff. So yeah, Steely Dan tracks there's some great drum parts there. Blake says Walnut Maple is a pretty amazing hybrid shell. The hybrid shell thing is one of those things that I'm not sure of. I haven't played enough of, to be honest. I guess technically the Gretsch shell is a hybrid shell because it's got a gumwood in the middle. And when they made drums back in the 60s and 50s, they were hiding that cheaper wood in the middle is what they were doing. Putting the maple on the outside. The maple is also the one that had the grain in it. So if you had wood drums, you saw the grain, the veneers, and plus they put veneers on them too. That was the other thing that they did for a long time. If the shell really didn't have if it had knots and stuff in it, they put a veneer over it, a thin layer. One of those layers would be a veneer layer so they can make the shells look the way they did. But I've never played Walnut Maple. Don't know what that would sound like. It might be kind of cool though. Definitely. Jim, thanks for being on today. I was talking about you playing some Skunk Funk. Check out Jim's some Skunk Funk cover. Milestone, remember their ads in MD. Did they become Aoit? No, they did not become Aoit. They became Tempest drums. Aoit was another company that made great drums out of Vancouver. I think Milestone was in Calgary or Ontario, maybe Toronto. So I think they're in Canada, but a different part of Canada. The guy who did Tempest bought the Milestone shells. Milestone was the first fiber. I mean, they made some great drums. The guy who used to play with BTO and the Guess Who, what's his name? Gary Peterson. He was playing Milestone drums back in the day. And there was a couple other jazzers that played Milestone. Very cool drums. Aoit, those are very nice drums. And he had a very interesting lug design where you could take the lug off without, taking it off the hoops and change heads quickly. That was kind of cool. I have a friend who's got a stainless steel Keplinger drum with the Aoit system on it. So I guess Aoit was making it with a Keplinger shell, which is a very really cool stainless steel shell. Keplinger was making. They're very expensive drums. Got to play that once or twice. Let's see. All right, Walton says Gretsch kit is my favorite. Thank you, Walton. I love that kit too. I'm never gonna get rid of that kit, so it's gonna go to one of my grandkids. I keep telling everybody that. Blake Nunn says for snares, nothing sings better than brass, in my humble opinion. I'm a brass guy. Love my Black Beauty. I'm looking for a 6.5 by 14 Black Beauty, and everything I read, those were the drums that played on all the hits. So it was either that or that aluminum Superphonic. Chadwick, Pearl and Tama sprayed a dark colored fiberglass in their shells in the 80s. Was that fiberglass or was that special coating they put in there? There was a company that did the vibrafibing where they put fiberglass in, and that's what Pearl's wood fiberglass drums are too. That's a fiberglass inner shell with a wood outer shell, which was a really cheap wood, by the way. That's why the Pearl wood fiberglass really don't turn me on. But Pearl also made these amazing thin fiberglass shells. And Tama made fiberglass shells too. But I didn't know that gray material was fiberglass in the drums. That's new to me. I thought it was some kind of sparkle paint deal that they put in. Like Ludwig did that too in the 70s. I don't know if you guys realize this. Ludwig had a period where this gray speckled paint was in their drums. My friend I actually got these concert toms instead of Marine Pearl concert toms with a Marine Pearl kit. His Marine Pearl kit was like the standard, reinforcement hoops with the maple shells from the 70s. And then he bought concert toms that had that gray, ugly paint in there. By the way, Rogers used to paint gray paint too. That was interesting. Let's see, Lori Jones. Only Gretsch use gum. No, actually, there's a couple companies that make gum shells now. Pearl's got a gum shell kit. Chad Cromwell, the drummer for Neil Young and Nashville Session drummer, uses a set of drums that are modeled after the Gretsch kit that Pearl started creating with a gum wood. And I know DW did a gumwood shell too. They're in their jazz series, trying to copy the Gretsch shell. Of course, now DW owns Gretsch in some way, so that's interesting. But Blake Nunn says maple hybrid shells, oak, babinga, mahogany. Yeah, everything. Let's try every wood. I mean, I'm not opposed to that. I think there are some cool babinga. I've played a babinga kit. Those are really. You know what everybody's missing is Sonar Beechwood. I mean, those Sonar drums are really thick, and they're made out of a beechwood. The ones from the 70s, they were just amazing sounding drums. And then the ones that had the rosewood inner ply and outer ply, I got to play in a couple of the rosewood kits. Those are great drums, excellent drums. So I got some new people here today. C.I. D'Angelo, thank you for being here. And you're telling me the Zola coating. I think that's the coating you were talking about. And yes, you are also saying the vibrified shells were the ones done in Indiana. I think it was in Indiana. It was a Columbus drum shop. Maybe it was Ohio, where Neil used to take those drums to be vibrified, where they put the fiberglass inside the shells. He did that to a Slingerland kit. He did it to a Tama kit. He did it to that famous Slingerland snare drum of his all those years. Pretty cool. Lori Jones, Yamaha Live Oak. I find them too punchy. That's interesting. I imagine oak might be punchy, but again, there's so many woods, so many things to try. You know what I mean? That's the key thing. I think the interesting thing is when you see that what the engineers on these records keep going back to, they all seem to be pretty consistent about birch or maple. That seems to be one, or the old Ludwig mahogany kind of drums. They're very much seen. Let's see. The gum is a scarf ply in the Gretsch maple gums. Okay. Scarf meaning, I believe it's in the middle. I think that's what you mean, Blake. But you can clarify. Thanks for the shout out and clarifications. Always learn something here. Thanks, Jim, for being on for a little bit. That's cool. Let's see what else we got going on here. If you have an oak custom, Lori, it's a good $5,000 kit. Yeah, I'm sure it is. There's most drum kits today are $5,000. It seems like that's kind of the price now if you want a good kit. Sean Woodley, love the sound of concert toms too. Now, concert toms are a different vibe. I mean, concert toms are a one-trick pony. Concert toms give you just top head. They don't give you bottom head. You don't get resonation, but you do get that fat tone. And if you mic it properly, you can get some really, really cool things. So out of it. Keith Scott said Fort Wayne, Indiana. Is that where that drum shop was? Where it was in Fort Wayne, where Sweetwater isn't Sweetwater in Fort Wayne, Indiana too? I've been to Sweetwater one time. Fort Wayne, Indiana. Okay, Jim Flies too tells me the same thing. All right, and C.I. D'Angelo. Neil had all his Tamas and Slingerland kits vibrified by the percussion shop somewhere in the Midwest. So I think we've all agreed it is Indiana. It was Indiana. I thought it was Indiana, but I didn't remember there being a drum shop in Fort Wayne. But I guess that shop's long gone, probably. Columbus still has a drum shop, apparently. Walton had a Tama Imperial Star fiberglass kit back in the 70s. Not nice. Interesting. What didn't you like about it, Walton? I had a friend who had a fiberglass kit from Tama, but was it the shell's too thick, too not thick? Because fiberglass, again, it's a different material. You know, fiberglass is a different thing, and like I said, for concert toms, they're great. I mean, now guys tell me you don't have the real Hal Blaine kit. You have to have Blamier shells if you want to have the real Hal Blaine kit, and they were a thicker shell, fiberglass shell, probably more in the lines of the Fibes drums. But as far as I'm concerned, that was as close as I was going to get, and guys are looking for these Pearl drums all the time now. So I've been looking for a 6-inch Pearl fiberglass tom and a 12-inch Pearl fiberglass tom for a while, and I don't think I'm ever going to find one that's not going to cost me $300 or $400, and I didn't spend that much money on all those toms. So I guess I'm never going to get it. I'm too darn cheap. That's the case. All right, glad to be here. I've been watching you since the beginning. Thank you, C.I. D'Angelo. I appreciate that, man. Thanks for being here since the beginning. I want to thank all you guys for watching my show. And remember, your questions make the show. So when I have questions, I have a good show. And this is a great show having so many people on today. It's this is another area that I've been kind of dealing with, to be honest, lately. Where am I going on YouTube? I don't really have aspirations. I don't think numbers really say anything, but I'm trying to figure out what I'm doing here. And I missed being here last week. I put up an Ask Girl, and you guys watched Ask Girl, and thank you for watching the show. And it does seem to get a following. People watch it if the right topics are there. But YouTube's got so much today. There's so much, but there's so little, I'm finding. I used to be able to find cool things on YouTube, and I'm finding it harder and harder to find good performances, unique performances. They keep feeding me the same garbage all the time. I have to clear my history out to try to get different things to come in. And I'm trying to understand what they're doing to us with publishing and blocking songs. I don't know if you guys saw this, but this happened the last 2 weeks. I had a couple songs that got blocked, and then I succumbed to the YouTube editing job. One was basically the Wolfpack song Back Pocket, where they chopped out a piece of the song. And why did they chop the piece of the song out? It was because some other guy sampled it and got on his hit song, and he claimed copyright, even though Wolfpack didn't claim any copyright on it. They probably would have shared revenue with me. Instead, none of us got anything. But I cut out that little section just to make a statement, like, I'm not going to throw this one away. And then the next day, when I first initially put this up, it was called On My Own by Patti LaBelle and Michael McDonald singing on it. For some reason, it went to like blocked. Nope, it's blocked now. It's blocked. You can't put it up. So I went and said, YouTube, what's the offense? And they go, it's all between 0 and 4 minutes and 10 seconds. Well, I had another 20, 30 seconds of me just goofing around at the end. So I let them cut it, and I dropped it, and I dropped it as On Your Own. I had 30, 20, 21 seconds or something of the song. It wasn't even the song. It was just me playing drums. And it was my statement of saying, well, screw you, Patti LaBelle. I'll put up what I want to put up. I'm kind of tired of this. So I'm finding it, YouTube's not very friendly to us drummers anymore. They don't really care. They're like, we don't really care who puts anything up there. We're making money hand over fist on these artists. All of them. Everybody, they make all the money. We make very little money, if there is money to be made, which I can't really find anymore unless you got 1 million subscribers. So why do we do YouTube? It's just the love of playing music. So I've been having a tough time kind of figuring out what I'm loving about it. And then every once in a while I do something, I go, well, that's why I do it. I just started a new series. This is something I just started, and I released the first one yesterday, and I love to get feedback from you guys, called Drum Lessons for My Grandkids. And the reason I started it was, number one, I figured one of the reasons I have this show and these shows is for my grandkids to find at some point in time. I'm hoping they're going to last the test of time to when the kids are, when I'm not here and the kids are here and they go, oh, that was my grandfather. Yeah, my poppy. Yeah, he was a great drummer. Did you see him play this? And I'm really hoping that's going to be part of it. So I've got a couple budding drummers, at least 3 or 4 right now. I may have 5 or 6 actually, and a couple of the girls that also, Ansley and Rosalind, may pick up drums at some point. But my grandson Asher, who's 9, and we jam all the time in here, and my other grandson Elliot, who lives down the street, those two live down the street. They're the most ones that come in here all the time. Plus their dad's a drummer, musician. So that's become a new passion of mine, is doing stuff for them. But I think there's some things you guys can learn about my playing, because I'm going to teach from how I learn and how I teach lessons. So hopefully you guys will find something in those new, drum lessons as being something that's helpful. I've got one on some basic beats coming out and some basic fills, and I have another one coming out on how I set up a drum kit. I'm going to get into that kind of weird. So I'm going to try to find weird topics to talk about, not just how to play a shuffle, even though I'll probably do one on how to play a shuffle someday, But that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to find new roads of having fun. I do love this show because I love interacting with you guys. I'd love to have more of you on my show. So if you want to be on my show, let me know, and I'll find a way to send you a link and have you drop in. I've had drum covers by Bill. He just dropped in one Saturday. That was a lot of fun. Had a lot of fun with drum covers by Bill and with Chadwick. So if any of you guys are interested in being on the show, and Jim Flies too, let me know. Want to have you get back in. So let's see what we got. I see some stuff came in the last few minutes. Let's see. Fiber Stars. Simon Phillips played them with Jeff Beck. Yeah, matter of fact, the first Jeff Beck kit that Simon Phillips played, the Tama kit, that was a really unique Fiber Star kick. It had Slingerland mounts on it. I don't know if you guys remember any of the pictures of that, but they had the Slingerland ball mount on it because he didn't dig the Tama mount, so he had him put that on it. And then I guess they redesigned some of the Tama mounts and made them better, and Simon now plays those mounts all the time. But back then, had a Slingerland mount on it, and he had the deep shells. And the deep shells became the standard shells somewhere in the late 80s, early 90s. But in actuality, in my book, the deep shells have never been the standard shells. The standard shells have always been 8x12, 9x13, 10x14, 12 by 15, 14 by 16 for toms, and then floor toms were 14 by 14, 16 by 16, 16 by 18, 18 by 20. But somewhere in the late 70s, these elongated squared toms became the thing. First Slingerland did it, and Ludwig, and then everybody took off on it, and now you've got these little in-betweeny sizes, and we don't even know what a standard drum is anymore. But yeah, that was a cool kit Simon played there. James, any wood apart from basswood sounds good to me. I had the pleasure of playing. Yep. Basswood's one of the cheaper woods. They made a lot of the cheaper line drums with basswood. All right, drum covers by Bill. Dan Sharp put out 3 Hootie and the Blowfish covers early this week. 3 got copyright blocked. Ouch. Don't try Hootie and the Blowfish. That's the motto of that story. Don't try Patti LaBelle. That's the other motto of the story for me. There's a lot of songs you cannot get through today. I don't know what's going on. Let's see what. All right, I know Chadwick's got a formula now that he does. He's like doing K-pop, which I didn't even know what K-pop was till the other day, Chadwick, when I was watching your show, Korean pop. It's the record companies. It's not YouTube. Yeah, I know, but YouTube's making the money off it. YouTube's being pushed around by the record companies' ideas and how they still want to make money based on the old system. I couldn't agree more. They're too stupid to pick up the pennies they're making from us drummers. And they'd be making the pennies instead of, we're not making anything on it. So they don't even understand that we're creating content using their stuff so they can make money. Yeah, you're right. They are really stupid. They got an old system in their brain. And they better get out of it because it's not going to work for long. You know, the publishing companies on Instagram are out of their mind now. I am so turned off by Instagram. I'm slowly not posting anymore because it's numbing the amount of blocks I get on Instagram every day. You know, and now my new thing is to actually take the fair use clause that I have at the bottom of all my videos, and I've cut and pasted into a note file. And whenever I get something on Instagram and I can challenge it. I go number 3, fair use, and I take that whole little clause and I plop it in there and send it to them. So the lawyers know that, no, there's a law here that says I'm allowed to do this, you know, for educational purposes. Because I'm not making any money off of it. And so if you guys are making money off the feed, you probably are making money off of it. So you could tell Instagram, give me our money for all this. They're not smart enough to do that, apparently. So, Blake Dunn drums. Lori, did you get a used kit? I just saw new used live. I don't know if that's a good question. That's between you and Lori, isn't it? I could tell I got in the middle of your conversation and that one too. Let's see. Adam, thanks for being here. Appreciate you being in today. Lori. All right, this is the answer to that question. Cardiff 10, 12, 14, 16, 22 plus snare. All right. Nice stuff. Let's see what Jim Flies 2's got. Just did a restoration on a 6.5 by 14 Fiberstar snare drum. Sounded boxy, but I didn't care for it at all. I get you. Again, this Tempest drum or this Grover snare drum, it's got the right bearing edge on it, and it does sound nice. I don't know. It's got a nice sound to it. It's got a real crack. I don't know. Maybe I just got the right. I got some really cheap heads on it, too. I was shocked at it. But I fixed it up for my friend, and one day he'll get it back. I'm just holding on to it until he gives me his address. So if you're out there, Leandro, just send me your address, and I'll mail the box of them to you. Okay. Your questions make the show. If I have questions, I have a show. I've just rambled on for 43 minutes and 52 seconds, and I haven't lost too many of you. I've actually probably picked up a couple. The question of the day was, what's the perfect drum part? What's the song with the perfect drum part that you think just can't be replicated? Nobody could do it better. That's the thought here this morning. Good morning, Eric from the Drum Attic. So cool to have you today. Here's another subject, since Eric of the Drum Addict's on, and I know Blake Nunn put this topic out last week too on one of his videos. Are any of you guys have any issues answering people's stuff and having your answer removed or comment removed from whatever they you basically answered a video, you wrote a comment about their video, and then it just goes away? That's been something that's I've been watching Eric try to write notes to me, and then I go back to the video and his comments replaced or gone. I think it's happened to me a couple times for people. I'm just wondering what the heck's going on in that world, why we can't respond to one another. But I don't know if that's a new way of blocking us or discouraging us from doing what we do. You know what I mean? And Eric said, I get a couple messages about this every day. I know you're the one of the guys that it happens to. I watched some guy get really bent out of shape because that was happening to him from somebody. Not gonna mention his name, but yeah, it can make you bent out of shape. I know that. Let's see. Adam's got a question. I think, if you don't mind me doing a plug, I have my first video up on YouTube channel. Great, Adam's Drum Room. Check out Adam's Drum Room. With it is a walkthrough of my drum room extensive collection. If anybody wants to check it out, Adam, I will definitely take a look at it when I get off today at some point. I want to definitely check out what you're doing. Cool. You know, if you guys are playing good stuff, I'll check you out. I have a lot of guys that ask me that. They basically come on my one of my videos, and they'll basically say, "Hey man, check me out," and I will. You know, I'll check you out, and if I like what I see, I'll sub. You know, I don't care about how many subscribers I have, how many people I sub to. You know, I'll sub to anybody. But you know, you got to be doing something cool, and that's the cool thing. You know, what I don't like though is when somebody gets on there and basically, I had a guy yesterday said, yeah, I could play this better than you, and blah, 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 blah. It was Van Halen Mean Street, which was kind of funny. I took his video, I took his comment down. That's what I did. I was like, I don't need to put up with this crap no more. You know, I know this. He basically said, I did it right. Come watch me. But he didn't have a YouTube channel. So I you know, when somebody says they did it right, I'm going, well, let me see what right is, because I can learn from somebody. I'm not opposed to learning, you know what I mean? So I went over, he had no YouTube channel. He said, you have to check me out on Facebook. And he gave his name. I put his name in. There's no Facebook page either. So I said, you know what? This comment is basically putting somebody on a wild goose chase to see who plays it better. I'm taking that down. So there are ways to take people's comments off your channel. I don't do it very often, but that guy annoyed the crud out of me yesterday. Because if you play something well, I'll definitely check it out. Usually the haters, though, they don't play it well, and they don't have a YouTube channel, and they don't have a video of them playing a song. So they're just critiquing you for, like, what a crappy player you are. But, Adam, I want to check you out, so I'm going to try to find that. Matter of fact, why don't you, Adam, leave that in one of my videos? You know, leave a comment on one of my videos or this video, and that way I'll be reminded to go over there to that. Because that's what it takes usually. I usually click on the person that left the comment, and I go check the videos out. I don't do a lot of searching anymore. I mean, there are guys that go searching for people to become friends with. I haven't done that in a long time. Usually you guys find me, and that's because I don't know about what I'm doing anyhow anymore. That's a whole nother that's a whole nother level, you know. Let's see what else we got. Perfect Parts, Don't Stop. Yeah, that's a good one. Steve Smith, Don't Stop Believing, Journey. And that has to be played that way. You have to play it left-hand lead. You have to do all those crazy parts. And that's why I've never done Don't Stop Believing. Because I have no left-hand lead. I stink at it. I've tried. I have practiced that one a few times. I go, it's not working. Of course, my practice level for any song is very short. If I'm not making headway within the first 15 minutes, I'm out. So I've probably done that for 15 minutes. I said, nah, ain't going to happen today. And I just put it away. And then maybe one day I come back to it. Eric said the other two other YouTube channels have reached out to YouTube about this. Yep, something new. I don't know what's going on. Blake Nunn said, I've had about 6 or 7 of us now that have all noticed Eric's comments. Crazy town. And Keith Scott says Eric's comments keep disappearing in my videos too. Don't know what's going on, Eric. That's crazy. All right, Lori Jones got a Premier Royale kit, popular mahogany. That's you know what? Lori, you just touched on something. That's where I played mahogany drums. They were those Premier resonator drums. We had them in college. I used to love that kit. It was big and huge. So cool. Such a cool kit. Let's see. Welcome me at it. Oh, thank you, Chadwick, for doing that. Keith Scott, I'm watching and commenting. Cool. Okay. Let's see. Adam, you're an inspiration. Love your videos. Thank you so much, Adam. I do appreciate that. I really do. And all you guys that watch me, I definitely appreciate the positive feedback and comments I get. Bill said haters are going to hate. That's a correct term for YouTube. People guys don't like you, they don't like you. What are you going to do about it? Nothing you can do about that one. All right, let's see what Blake says. I have around 10 likes on a brand new video. Go to bed, wake up, all the likes have been reset to 0. That is just crazy. That doesn't make any sense at all. But somebody said, and tell me if I'm wrong, but I keep hearing this. Actually, everybody says like the video so it gets in the stream. You know, I never say like and subscribe. I rarely do that. Maybe at the end of a Ask Girl Anything. I assume if you like what I do, you'll subscribe to me. If you don't, you don't. And by the way, 85% of the people that watch my videos don't subscribe, or they end up coming back enough times where they finally do subscribe, I guess. But, you know, it's like 15% of people who watch my videos are you guys. And the other 85% are other people. And it's because I have a few videos that are in the stream. And how do I know they're in the stream? Because they're in the tens of thousands of views. And why are they in the stream? I hit the right titling, I think. I think titling has a lot to do with figuring that out. You know what I mean? The titling of a song to get it up in a stream. And those videos also, most of them are not drum covers. I have a couple drum covers that people like to watch. One being, of course, Down Under from Men at Work. For some reason, that one, I played crazy stuff. You know, I did a Chadwick thing. I did tasteful drum fills, musically played drum fills. That's what I did. I had fun with it. I just didn't have a green screen and a roller coaster going on behind me. And Chadwick, I'll tell you something. I'm really tempted to put the roller coaster. I've been putting all these peaceful things on my green screen lately, like a body of water with a couple boats and a drone flying over water. That's my new thing. I'll put on some of my videos. If I can't find the artist video. But I had a problem with an artist video. Well, actually, I didn't have a problem with the artist video. I had a problem with putting up somebody's video that wasn't even I wasn't playing the music. It was What Does the Fox Say? That shut one of my videos down for Fox on the Run by Sweet, which I got to put out this week. I've got a whole bunch of songs in the can, but I'm feeling like I'm tired and old. I don't even like my videos anymore, so I'm putting them out less and less, it seems like. Isn't that's a funny statement to say, but it's true. I don't even watch my videos. I don't know how you guys watch my videos, but that's the way I feel right now. Oh, let's see what we got going on here. Keith Scott. I know you are, Eric. Appreciate your comments. Show up in my feed, but disappear in the video. Yeah, that's what's exactly been happening on with me. Shows up in the feed and then it's gone. And there's a bunch of guys it's happening to. I don't know why. Sean Woodley, what are your favorite pair of sticks? Oh, that's a good one, Sean. Thank you for asking that. I left my water in the other room by the water cooler where I fill it up. I'm so dry in my throat's not even funny right now. But let's talk about drumsticks. So I was watching Grey Ghost's channel, and I don't know if you guys are subscribed to Grey Ghost. Grey Ghost plays a lot of covers like I like to play, yacht rock stuff, and he plays other stuff too. I mean, plays hard rock and stuff. I don't know his first name, or I would call him by his first name. By the way, that ticks people off. I've learned that when you call them by something other than their YouTube name, they get upset sometimes. So I try not to do that to people. And I guess if GG wanted to post what his name was, I would start using it. But he likes Grey Ghost. So anyhow, he was talking about this drumstick deal at Sweetwater this week for a stick called Goodwood. And I was at Sweetwater in 2017. I did a road trip, 3-week road trip. I was on my transition, and I took my wife along, and we have friends in Indiana. And my friend in Indiana buys everything at Sweetwater. As a matter of fact, he turned me on to Sweetwater when he was down here and did my wife's album. He's a really close friend of mine. And he set up an appointment at Sweetwater, and I got a tour of Sweetwater, and went upstairs the upper level and slid down the slide and went in the recording studios, and it was awesome. It was on a Saturday, and so Sweetwater's a really cool place. And when I was there in the store, they had some of these Goodwood sticks, 5A. I like a 5A drumstick. I used to love Vader Fusions; they were my favorites. But then they started being $10 a pair. I didn't want to spend $10 a pair. But there was always a deal on the Vader 5As, the LA 5As. So I bought Vader 5As, LA 5As. There's a connection to Goodwood and Vader 5As, by the way. There is. So I'm watching Gigi tell this thing about he bought some of these Goodwood sticks. He bought Goodwood 5As, and he's bought them before. He lives out in Indiana, apparently. And he bought a pack of 6 drumsticks for $20. Good deal, $19.99. And this time when he saw the Goodwood thing on it, said Goodwood by Vader. So the Goodwood are seconds, meaning they got blemishes on them, but they're made by Vader. And I had 6 pairs of Goodwood in here for the longest time, and they felt like Vader, so I played them. They look like Vader, but I wasn't sure. They could be, they could have been Vic Firth, but they were Vader. And I saw that thing on his channel, and I said, you know what? Went in my Sweetwater app and ordered 6 pairs of wood tip and 6 pairs of nylon tip, because I've been wanting to try nylon tips on my Keropes at church. I feel like the Zildjian Keropes are just a little dark, but they are the right cymbal for my church gig. It's kind of a very big wooden, it's a concrete with wooden roof church, and it's got the high ceilings and stuff. And I brought the Paiste 2002s in there, and I loved them, but I got a lot of flack the next week saying, can you play a little quieter? And I know it's the brightness of those Paistes just cutting through the room, where no one says anything about my playing when I'm playing the Keropes, because they're really dark and dead. So they're not dead, but they're dark. They're really dark cymbals. So I thought to myself, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to buy some nylon tips. So this was my opportunity to buy nylon tips really cheap. So I got 6 pairs of nylon tip 5As, and I've got 6 pairs of wood tips to add to my other Vader collection of 5As. So that's my favorite stick, is the Vader 5A, LA 5A. And by the way, that works out to like $3 and change a pair of sticks. So that's a deal to me. So I'm going to keep looking for those now. I'm just going to keep harping on Sweetwater to buy those sticks, because I don't want to spend $10 a pair of sticks. I don't care if it's got my name on it or what it has on it. I just don't want to spend $12 a pair of sticks. There's nobody's drumsticks that are worth $10 a pair to me. And I've got probably about 150 pairs of drumsticks in here of all different types, because I've got 4 drum bags of sticks. The people give me sticks. Like, I have a friend, a jazz drummer, that gave me a pile of jazz drumming sticks. I can't use them on my daily stuff because they're too thin. But if I was playing a really light gig and they got that really thin jazz tip, I could pull out a pair of those and play really light if I needed to. But my favorite sticks are 5As. That's my favorite sticks, and I'm sticking to it. Let's see. Pearl Session Customs are African mahogany and birch. Yep, I know Pearl was making a mahogany kit, no doubt about it. Thank you, Eric. Love my videos. I appreciate that so much. Let's see what Chadwick has to say. I watched musicians this week with 1.5 million views and still only had 11 subs. I thought it was a little odd. They didn't have much content, so maybe that's why. Yeah, I have a friend, a good friend of mine from college, who had 110 subs for the longest time, and he did this little Brubeck-inspired 5/4 video with a comp like the Brubeck Take 5, and he got like 500,000 hits. He got in the feed somehow, and he got 5,000 subscribers all next day. So it seemed pretty fast. So I wrote him. I said, hey, man, have you monetized anything yet? He goes, I don't have enough hours. I don't have enough hours of content. All of his content's like 1 minute, 2 minutes. So the problem with that is when you get to the place where you need to have that 4,000 hours of view time, It doesn't matter if you have 1,000 subscribers. You still have to have 4,000 hours of view time to monetize everything. By the way, all of his stuff is monetizable because he's not playing anything that's a cover. So he's got all these little video snippets that he can't monetize. That's what YouTube did back in 2018. They said, we are not going to have any crazy drummer playing with his band, doing wild crossovers and crazy stuff like that. Crazy 2 million view drummer that played, Sharp Dressed Man, making a lot of money off of us anymore. They shut that down in 2018. They said, you need 1,000 subs, you need 4,000 hours of view time. That's what you need to start monetizing it. And then you better be making stuff that's not anybody else's. And they've really cracked down on YouTube. So it's very hard to break into making any money. And the fact that I was at the beginning of that and I got crazy enough to get 1,000 subs and I started Ask Earl Anything, where I actually had you guys watching my show at 25 minutes sometimes. That's why I have enough hours to monetize this show after the fact. You know what I mean? It's a crazy, crazy new world that we live in. So let's see. Keith Scott said, love your videos too sometimes, but I get burned out. Don't want to do covers anymore, but your videos inspire me to keep going. Well, thanks, Keith, letting me know that. I'm not using the burnout word, but I will say this. I'm not burnt. I love playing. What drum covers do for me is it forces me to play every week. And that's what I love doing. But I used to love watching myself play. Now I'm kind of tired of watching me play. And I'm looking for new content. So I watch interviews of people. I used to watch political content. I'd watch like news stuff on YouTube. I stopped that 7 months ago now. So I'm not watching anybody's political content. So I don't have that to feed in. You know what I mean? And I'm finding out that most of the music content is like I've watched 50 times. So it's hard to find something new to watch. So, and of course with COVID, there wasn't a lot of new stuff coming out. So like I always put in things like Vinnie Colaiuta 2021. Try to see if there's a new Vinny video, and there's not very many. There was this one jazz record company thing that they had some sessions, and he did something with Chick Corea that came out in the 2021 Vinny. Really nice playing. Vinny playing his Gretsch Kid and Paiste cymbals, and sounded awesome. But I'm having a hard time finding new pro level guys playing stuff. So I had a Linda Ronstadt video came up from 1975 with Mike Botts playing drums, and I never saw it before. It was the first time. I love Linda Ronstadt, by the way. I haven't done enough of her covers. I should do some of her covers. As a matter of fact, I should put that on my list of things to do. Linda Ronstadt. But yeah, I'm not inspired by myself right now, so I'm just being honest with you guys. I don't know why. This is like therapy for me doing this, by the way, just so you know. Let's see. I like that one. I did that. Chadwick. Okay, Earl, my July roller coaster covers are coming to an end. So you're saying I can jump on and do roller coaster videos? They are awesome. It's like being on a roller coaster and just that's a lot of fun. I have a lot of fun with that. I like that one. James Jin, came across your channel by watching your Jeff Porcaro video. Thank you. I love listening to you talk about old session drummers, equipment, and worship music. Yeah, I need to do more worship music stuff. That's true. I have done that too. I think I do need to talk about some other drummers. Paul Lime's a guy that really inspired me, and Bill Maxwell. As a matter of fact, if you're into Bill Maxwell, there's an interview of him with a bass player named Reggie Young. And he's talking about all his old Andre Crouch days. So CCM drummer, if you're on, man, you want to hear Bill Maxwell talking about. Bill has such a heart for God. It's not even funny. I mean, I always knew he did because I could feel it in his playing when he played with Keith Green or Andre Crouch or Phil Driscoll or all the Winans, all that stuff he was playing. You just feel he's like really in it, in the spirit kind of thing. And I love Bill Maxwell. I love Bill Maxwell's drumming, and he has had a huge influence on me. I need to do another influence video. Bill Maxwell and Paul Lime, those two guys, and The other guy that I don't talk a lot about, but a guy named Carl Albrecht, who played on all the Hosanna Integrity stuff in the 90s and 2000s, and plays with Paul Wilbur and Paul Baloche. He's another drummer that just incredible drummer. Incredible stuff. But thanks for letting me know how you found me, James. I appreciate that. Let's see what Chadwick, why? Let's see. That's weird, Chadwick. That's what I said earlier. YouTube is going to a good place. Not sure I can comment on that. Can't. Let's see. Thanks for being here, Eric. Blake Nunn drums, talking about the Crouches. Sandra Crouch did an amazing piece with Snarky Puppy and Larnell. Did not know that. By the way, Sandra Crouch is a pastor, and she was also on the Bill Maxwell interview. So if you want to learn a little more about Sandra Crouch, she also gets in on the act too. Chadwick, need to get in and out of videos faster. That's why I started shooting my songs, arrangements, and playing. Less time, I can find more contact. Didn't know I was looking for what I was looking for. I know that's your new philosophy, is to cut them up a little bit. I guess the true drum cover guy in me doesn't let me do that, but I think there might be a strategy to that might work for you, Chadwick, and hopefully you're getting subs. That's what hopefully you're getting, and people are seeing your videos for sure. I think you're going for that pop thing is a way to do it. By the way, check out Chadwick's Mad Cowbell covers. He may feature some of you guys on it, man. Definitely something to think about. So, who is Sean Happy? Sean Happney. Cheers, Earl. I used Vic Firth 5 BMs for years, but a couple years ago I switched to my original faves ProMark. 5 TBXNs are perfect for me. Shank and tip are much more durable and solid. You know, thanks for sharing that, Sean. ProMarks are really nice sticks, and they've got some features where they do the stick weighted forward or backward and to the back of the stick or the front of the stick, and there's a couple different grip things. I mean, I'll tell you, if I could get my hands on a ProMark Evans deal, I would surely love to play their sticks and heads. Otherwise, I guess I'll stick with Vader and Remo because they're cheaper. But yeah, Vic, I mean, ProMark makes some nice sticks. Now, I used to hate ProMark sticks. I'm going to tell you this, and I'll tell you why. When I was a kid, I used to play the ProMark oak sticks, and I hated those sticks. They don't feel right in my hands. You get pain hitting a cymbal with those oak sticks. They're too solid. There's no give to them, and hickory has a give. Maple has a give, but those oak sticks are just out of control. So what I've learned is I cannot play ProMark oak sticks. But the ProMark hickory sticks are really nice. And back in the 90s, I was part of a project. They called it Project X. I don't know if any of you guys remember this, but Modern Drummer was doing it, Project X, and it came through Modern Drummer ads, and I signed up with ProMark, and they would send me sticks to sample. And I loved it. They would send me different, and the way they would do is they would send me 2 or 3 pairs of sticks, and they'd have different varnish on them or finish on them to see if I liked it with the stickier finish or the less sticky finish or the kind of like no finish. And I tried some different types of tips. I had a lot of fun with that while that lasted. I was part of that Project X team. But it didn't make me a ProMark user because I still had this thing with the Vader sticks. Always felt I liked the Vader Fusion for years. I played Vader Fusion. And of course I do like the round tip. That's kind of the Steve Gadd, Dave Weckl stick, original Dave Weckl stick thing. But yeah, it's an interesting aside. Blake, old ProMark 707s, some of my faves. 707s were the ones I used to break those oak sticks. I hope you're talking about the hickory version of the 707, because the oak version of the 707 was the stick that I used to get my hands on, and I was breaking them all the time. I breaking them and they hurt my hands. It was kind of weird. Anyhow, your question makes the show, guys. Thank you all for being on. I got 17 people still watching me. It's actually grown. That's crazy, guys. Thank you all of you guys watching the show. I do appreciate that. Let's see what I got a couple here. Stuart Barrett's on. Hey, Stuart. Let's talk Chadwick. ProMark drumsticks oak would break like you had a knife in your hand. That's right. That's how they broke because they had like a sharp break and the tip would just fly off and hit things. And yeah, I could not play those oak sticks. Slingerland used to have oak sticks. I think they were made by ProMark, by the way. Um, yeah, totally. Oak is the worst. They're just too hard. They're a hard wood. So I can't imagine oak drums not having a real hard sound to them. So I've kind of stayed away from that oak thing, in everything drumming. Stuart, I appreciate you giving insight to the older classic tunes and drummers. There's nothing like the old music from the 70s and 80s drummers played on those records. Yeah, those are my peeps. Yeah, I don't know how to say it, but that's my era, man. That's when I grew up. Um, and I really, really, I mean, I'm talking all that music: R&B, rock, progressive rock, jazz fusion. I was listening to so much music, and guys ask me like, "How do you do the things you do?" And I think after 60 years, I can tell you the secret really is listen to music. Listen to lots of music, listen to lots of different music, and every opportunity you get to play music, play as much music as you possibly can play of any different style. And if you're thrown into something, listen before you go to the gig. When I started playing, I've been playing in churches for 40 something years, okay? I started playing in churches when it was of the devil to play in churches, okay? A drummer in a church. Like, that's of the devil. Matter of fact, Bill Maxwell was talking about Andre Crouch being invited to some churches and them saying, keep the drummer out. Drummer's not allowed to come in for your concert. Andre was huge, and they didn't want the drummer there. It was Bill Maxwell, man. You want Bill Maxwell in the house. You don't want to not have Bill Maxwell in the house. But that's how long ago. But when I started playing the worship in the churches as they changed in the mid 2000s to the Click World and the Avion systems and the big mega churches, and I had to play with a click track, and I wasn't playing with a live band with wedge monitors, and it became like you had to play the parts exact, and the worship leaders were absolutely crazy about, no, the tom part has to be dum da da dum da da dum da 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 on the floor tom. Don't vary it on the other tom. I mean, that was a hard period for me because they're looking at me going like, I got some kid who'll play it exactly what I want, and I don't want you telling me how you think it should be played, you old person. And I was like in my 40s and going into my 50s at that point. And I realized that all these young worship leaders thought they knew what music was, and they didn't know what a blues riff was. They couldn't play a blues scale on their guitar, but they thought they were the greatest guitar players since sliced bread, the greatest thing. So I basically had to take it on the chin and learn how to play worship music the way the young kids were playing it, and I did. And now I usually sit down the bandstand and I know the songs better than anybody else on that bandstand. And I can play those parts the way they're supposed to be played. And I can also know where I have the ability to put what I need to put on it. Because you know what? That's what it's about musically, is learning how to put you on what you do. Because truthfully, all of us should be developing an art form in ourselves, a skill set in ourselves where we come out. I love Jeff Porcaro, but I am not Jeff Porcaro. I love Steve Gadd, and I play some of his licks, but I am not Steve Gadd. Everybody's got to be the best. Earl, Blake, Chadwick, Stewart, Walton, Laurie Jones, Jim flies too, Jim, Huey. You got to be the best who you are. And it's going to take listening to everybody else. It's going to make you who you are. And that's the key. That's the key to the whole thing, is being able to find who you are in the music. So the more music you listen to, the more styles you listen to, the more you learn and take direction from people that don't even know what the heck they're talking about, but you learn how to give them what they want, the better you're going to be on a bandstand with anybody. And I check my ego at the door. I do what I got to do. I play for it. And then they start to realize, wait a second, you got a little bit more in you than, yeah, I do have a little bit more in me. Because you know what? I've got 40 something years of doing this. And I didn't have that in my 20s. I had that fire and I had what I knew, but I didn't have that, what I have now. And I think the key is to be lifetime learners, continue to grow. and learn from everybody. Thank you, all you guys have just shown up. Brian Curry's on here today. Brian's on. I see Brian. Welcome to the show. Hey, Aaron, did you know the kind of Zildjian cymbals Buddy Rich used to play back in the day? Yes, I do, by the way. Buddy Rich played A Zildjian cymbals, 14-inch new beat hi-hats, a 20-inch medium ride. He had two 18-inch crashes. One was a thin and one was a medium thin. And in the latter years of his life, he was playing a 22-inch Swiss knocker for a long time. He also had an 8-inch splash cymbal or a 6-inch splash cymbal that was mounted right above the 9x13 tom. And if you look in the Zildjian catalog, that's pretty much his standard setup. So he had two different sounding 18s, a pie flat, 20-inch ride cymbal, and he played the 22-inch. He's playing that 22-inch Swiss knocker like a lot of guys, big band guys, started to do. So, but thanks for the question, Brian. And Walton says, yep, Greer, I have a dozen pairs of ProMark Oaks. Just gave up on. Yeah, I have a couple pairs left from somebody gave me some of them, and I cannot play those sticks. Those are the worst. Let's see if we got anybody else on here. All right, any other questions? Any other questions that I see? Thank you all for being on the show. As you know, I have yoga at 11 o'clock. My wife said, you are going to be on time today. You're not going to do anything crazy, right? I said, yeah, I'll be on time. So I'm going to do have a 45 minutes of Zen, and then I'm going to eat lunch, and then I may make some drum covers this afternoon. So see what's happening. I got to play 6 songs at church. We're doing some kind of special church thing tomorrow, so I got a bunch of things to learn there. Most of them I played before, but I got to run them at some point. Let's see. James Lynn, Buddy used Avidus Zildjian cymbals except in 1984 when Eric Peisty showed up on a big band show in Berlin. Yeah, I mean, you're correct. You want to know an interesting Peisty fact? I mean, Tony Williams played some Peisty cymbals. Tony Williams, there's a show with Tony Williams playing with Stan Getz, and I think they were in, is it Switzerland where that famous jazz festival is? I think it's Switzerland. What's the name of that jazz festival? It's famous, world famous jazz festival. Anyhow, Stan Getz, Chick Corea, Stanley Clark, and Tony Williams playing drums. He's playing a little Gretsch kit, same color as mine, walnut Gretsch, and he's got Peisty 2002s. He's got a big 22, it's 22 or 24-inch 2002 ride. He's got an 18 or 20-inch crash, and he's got a set of 14-inch sound edge hi-hats, and he is playing the heck out of it. So that's a kind of cool, if you can find that video of him, Tony Williams, Stan Getz, it's from the European tour. He's playing Peisty cymbals. So it doesn't surprise, I'm sure Buddy's played some Peisty cymbals at some point. But Buddy was very faithful to Avidus Zildjian, and he was very faithful to the Zildjian family. It wasn't so Montreux. Thank you, Adam, for the Montreux Jazz Festival. That's what it is, the Montreux Jazz Festival. But Buddy wasn't real faithful with drum companies. But Zildjian cymbals, he played his whole career. That was his thing. So, yeah, Montreux, Switzerland, Peisty's in Switzerland. Yeah, that's kind of what I think that's what happened. These guys didn't have their stuff, and they were playing rental kits or whatever, or backline kits, as we call them today. By the way, backline thing is relatively new. It's the last 30 years you'd started to find backline kits. I mean, I played a couple wedding gigs at a couple catering houses in New Jersey where they had a kit. But still the drummers brought their own drums in because most drummers wanted to play their own drums. But when I was playing upstairs in this one room, there was a Rogers kit, and I used to use the backline kit and just bring my cymbals and stands because it was worth it. You know what I'm saying? But, yeah. But kind of cool. That's a good point. Sound creation ride. Man, I'll tell you, the first time I played a Peisty cymbal that I remember, and I'll tell you this story. My friend Scott Hazen, I was taking lessons from him, and we took the lesson upstairs in the second floor drum room where all the drums were kept in Blue Note Music. And there was a Ludwig Red Sparkle Club Date kit with a 12 and a 12 by 15 floor tom and a 20-inch bass drum. and some kind of Ludwig snare drum. And he brought in his Formula 602 Dark Ride 20-inch. And boy, that was a cool cymbal. What a cool cymbal, man. Just so very cool cymbal. So I can't believe you guys are still here, man. That's so cool. I got people here still today. Thank you, Jim, for saying Montreux too. Let's see what Chadwick says. On fly dates with backline, you never know what you're going to actually be playing, endorsed or not. That's true. You're not sure what you're going to get when you get a backline kit, and most of those guys know that. I mean, I was watching a video of one of the guys I like to watch. I can't remember which drummer it was, but he was not playing his normal drums. He was playing some other kit. Probably was like a Pearl kit or something, and he was normally a Yamaha endorser. So, I mean, it's gotten better because the drum companies have made sure they're at the major festivals and stuff, and they provide. But you're right. The backline today, if you're playing in clubs and stuff, you're not going to get what you play most of the time. You're going to get whatever the club has for a backline. But that's the advantage is you show up and you just – churches do that too. That's what churches do. Churches basically have drum kits set up, except the one I go to. I bring my own kit to that. But I like that aspect of it, to be honest. But most churches I sit down, I just walk in with my cymbals and a snare drum, and I'll play. I'll even use the pedal usually. So let's see what Brian's saying about Buddy again. Oh, Uzi, Booba Doobu. Uzi, how you doing, man? By the way, Uzi, you're another one of those guys. I don't know your real name. Some of the guys do. So if you give me your real name, I will always use your real name. I hate using Uzi, but that's how I know you, Uzi. Uzi makes some of the greatest filmed video drum covers, not just drum covers, just films and funny films and stuff. And I haven't seen any of your stuff in a while. I know you did something recently I saw. So thank you for showing up, man. And I appreciate the support, Uzi. I really do. Thanks for being on. And Brian, let's see. Brian Corey said, Buddy used to go through drumsticks band sections when they missed notes, right? You guys have been reading. You guys need to read some of the books on Buddy because yeah, he was a tough dude to work for. But I have a couple friends that actually worked for him, so saxophone players. He was a tyrant. You know what I mean? All right, it's an hour and 22 minutes. I still got 18 you guys. Thank you all you guys for being on the show. I thank you and I appreciate you dropping in and saying hi and asking questions and making the show fun. So it doesn't look like I got any more questions, but thank you all for being on the show today. I really do appreciate it. And I'm going to try to be here next Saturday again. Probably is 9:30 better than, let me leave a note on the show later on. Is 9:30 better than 9:00 for you guys? I got a great audience today and it just pushes me right up against. It won't let me go much further than an hour and 20 minutes. So, but thank you all again. I really do appreciate you all being here today, and everybody have a great day. Talk to you again next week. Bye.